Radio has seen its day. It's gone. Everyone's got their smartphones now, so do yourself a favor. Go to powertalk1210.com and download the app and get a chance to hear interviews like the one I'm about to do with a legendary multi-instrumentalist, unsung hero, and a guy who is the musical director at the Glide Memorial Church in San Francisco. Full of love and an honor to join us today. John Turk, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
My pleasure to be with you.
How are you, my brother?
Very good.
That's good.
Very good.
Just starting off with the, I was in San Francisco for my 10-year wedding anniversary, and I stopped by Glide, and I spoke to a couple of the cats at the front. They mentioned they feed 800 to 1,000 people a night just for dinner alone.
Right.
I was taken aback, John. I mean, I hadn't been to San Francisco in about 16 years. I couldn't believe the epidemic of homelessness and poverty there. And I just want to talk, I want you to tell the audience, if you can separate it, knowing how you come in there and fundamentally change people's hearts or try to change it through the music.
Well, the songs that I choose for the choir are mostly upbeat, uplifting songs that hopefully touch the soul, make people feel better about themselves, and give them hope.
Do you feel like you had to be in their place at one time? I mean, to be honest with you, we came in with that. I don't know if you recognize that Charlie Musselwhite tune that you were playing on there. But when I look at you guys, I say these guys were playing their lives. I mean, you were the jazz was right upside the blues when you were coming up.
Right.
And I feel like, well, if John Turk is the musical director at a place where there is so much pain and suffering, that you had to have felt that too. Is that fair to say?
Yes, definitely. It's really scary to see so many people hopeless, downtrodden, and really not having anywhere to live, to eat. And they can get that at Glide, food, and they also have a place where they can get medical treatment there at Glide.
Can you talk about the pastor, Pastor Williams? I interviewed Glenn Howell, and this pastor sounds like a really interesting and impressive person. He's survived every mayor.
Oh, yeah.
He's done it all. And tell me what inspires you about Pastor Williams.
His courage. That's the most important thing for me from him. His courage to go out there and fight for the poor and downtrodden, and when the TV camera leaves, he doesn't leave.
I love it. John, can you give a specific example of courage that he's demonstrated that inspired you?
Well, the one that really sticks with me, and this happened a few years back, he had a sort of rally at a housing project that was known for all the dope that was happening in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And, the choir went with him and the band, and we played some music in front of this housing building. And Cecil walked through the building talking about up with hope, down with dope. And I'm thinking, this guy is nuts. This is early on in my career at Glide. And there's dope smoke coming all out the doors and the windows. And, I feared for his health up there. Those people are not playing. They're serious about that dope. And he kept on. Now, this is one time that I've seen the TV cameras there, and the TV cameras left, and he was still talking about up with hope, down with dope. I don't have that kind of nerve. I might have it now, but I sure didn't have it then.
Yeah, I mean, what that to me, to stare into the face of hostility and not back down from your message because you. And by the way, it's the Reverend Cecil Williams, and to not back down from that. That is courage. And I mean, but one man can't do it alone, John. I mean, it's to me, I guess I was amazed at how overwhelming the hopelessness was. And then on top of that, and you've been a guy who has been all through the peninsula, Oakland, San Francisco, San Jose, you've done the whole circuit for years. You juxtapose all that poverty with just this egregious amount of wealth. I mean, you walk out of these department stores and there's just people everywhere. And so it's not moral. And
what's surprising?
Yeah, go ahead.
Surprising at Glide is that you can have a multi-millionaire sitting in the church right next to somebody that's homeless. That's pretty impressive to me, to be able to draw. Excuse me.
Yeah, sure. How do you?
All
yes.
aspects of American society.
And do you believe that the diversity? How does that diversity? Is it a if you build it they will come kind of thing? Is it an authenticity? Is it just an allegiance to the Reverend himself because he's been around for so long? I mean, listen, one of my sponsors on the Jake Feinberg Show is the Circle Tree Ranch, which is a drug rehabilitation facility here in Tucson. It's huge, and they get everybody from NFL players to guys with black credit cards to inner city youth from Los Angeles. But that's a rehab center for people to try to get themselves straight. This is a church, and most of the time, upper class people are not going to go to a church like that.
No.
Why do they come? Why do they come there?
The influence of Reverend Williams. I mean, his mantra is unconditional love for the people, and he's not just talking. You can see it in the works that he has done over the years. The fact that he feeds thousands of people, and he doesn't turn his back on anyone. Everybody's welcome, in spite of your lack of or of money.
I just also want to be clear. How do a lot of the, you may not know this, but I mean, do a lot of the wealthier patrons donate to the church? Is that how their funding comes? I mean, they clearly aren't. I mean, it's not taxpayer funded stuff. How do they get the money to be able to feed 1,000 people just for dinner?
Now that's out of my realm.
All right, let's get back to Turk, because we're talking to one of the heaviest musicians, a guy that I have just wanted to talk to forever. I just wanted to ask you about your first experience in a sanctified church, and more specifically, if there was no trap set, where was the rhythm coming from, and how the sanctified church influenced you?
Well, I really wouldn't call Glide a sanctified church. It just so happens that Cecil has, even before I got there, but I've been there 30 years, he's let me have the freedom to bring whatever music that I felt was, worthy. And he's really never told me, well, you can't do this or you can't do that. We do songs that have a message, and if I think the message fits Glide, we do it. And so far, he's the boss. So if he said you can't play or sing that song, we wouldn't do it. But so far, I haven't had that happen.
No, I didn't make my question clear. I meant as a child, John Turk, your first experience in a yeah, I know Glide's not. Your first experience in a church. All I'm getting at is this. I've interviewed Clyde Stubblefield. I've interviewed Jabo Starks. I've interviewed so many cats that, the drummers for James Brown, where did they get that funky rhythm from? Where did they get that beat from? It was, in my mind, tambourines, sticks, and the holy rollers. And you were the blues.
The truth is, I didn't really come from that kind of church. I was a Methodist, still am.
Mm-hmm.
So our music tended to be slower, not as much rhythm. There weren't that many people falling out. How some churches, the music gets to them so good,
yeah, right.
they just fall out. We did have some of that, but not a lot. My experience with real gospel came from going down to Second Baptist Church in Vallejo. My church was Kyle's Temple AME Zion, which is Methodist. Now, when we got through with Sunday school, I would go down to Second Baptist because that's where the church was rocking.
Talk about that. So it was rock, and what does it mean? It was rock, and it had a lot more rhythm.
It had rhythm, and you really felt lifted up when you listen. You couldn't just go to the church and just sit there like a mummy. That music was going to get to you, raise the hair on your arm, So, and then after that, on some Sunday evenings, I would go down to Church of God in Christ. And at that time, that's where Sly was playing. And I used to hear him introduce the blues into the church song. And that's where the tambourines and stuff like that came in. And it was happening.
So talking about Sylvester
Stewart, yeah, from Sly
Stewart. It was also a decorated radio DJ at one time as well.
Right.
For the lay audience.
That was later.
Sure, but this is so great. Can you talk about how, to the lay person or to anybody listening in the world right now, how he brought the blues into that hard driving gospel?
He just did it. You could hear B.B. King in what he was playing, and that added with the rhythm and the tambourines made it all happen. The church was just rocking. I would sit on the steps in front of the church and just listen to the music.
Talking to John Turk here on the Jake Feinberg Show, one of the heaviest cats. He's not just someone speaking from an ivory tower. The guy is woodshedding and giving hope to dozens of people every week. I just was listening back to my Clifford Coulter interview last night, and how did you originally connect? Can you tell the audience how you originally connected with John Lee Hooker?
I was playing it at a real dive.
That's the kind of, but they were everywhere on El Camino, right? In San Jose, El Camino, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did you play Popeyes a lot?
Not a lot.
Okay,
no,
go. I don't want to
was-
get you off. You were playing a dive. Go ahead. I didn't want to cut you
Yeah,
off. Go ahead.
in Richmond, California.
Okay, sure, sure.
Yeah, and the lady that owned the place, Granny, she booked John Lee Hooker into her club, and I was playing with a blues band from Vallejo, and he came in there, and he was one of the acts that was booked, and that's how I got to meet him, and John Lee Hooker, and I can't think of his name. Lowell Fulson.
Lowell Fulson. No, because
Right.
right. No, I mean, okay. So first, what was the blues band you were in? What was the name of that band?
Piney Clark.
Piney Clark.
Yeah, we're
This is
going way
getting
back.
no. I mean,
I was
Turk. I'm opening you up, man. I'm opening you up.
I was a teenager at that time, playing with him, and we played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Do you, so you got to meet John Lee, and then ultimately what were you playing trumpet at that? What instrument were you playing then?
I was playing trumpet, right?
And so at some point he said, "Hey kid, I mean, because I mean I'm looking here at your discography, your Endless Boogie. I can't recommend that album enough to people. 1971, 1967, it has you playing keyboards with him at Cafe A Go Go. Is that accurate?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So
Not that I can remember. I mean, I played with him more than one time, but I don't remember. Most of the places I had played with him were in the East Bay, Richmond, and Oakland.
Sure. I did want to ask you very serious. This is so important because you're talking about this Chitlin circuit that went Richmond, it went San Francisco, it went Oakland, Vallejo.
Right.
Charles Sullivan. Can you talk to the audience about who he was?
He was a heavyweight in the music business. He booked a lot of the big and little acts in this Bay Area.
Like James Brown and the Flames, right? Before,
Right.
And so, I mean, he was a heavyweight, and did he own a lot of clubs?
I only know of him owning one, and I can't remember the name of it, other than the fact that it was on Fillmore Street in San Francisco.
I'm always curious. I was out in Oakland in March, and I ran into Calvin Keys.
Right.
Calvin,
Great.
the man. I mean, you know, I could just listen to you and him play in a duo. I could go to heaven. But he said that Charles wound up shot to death in his car with $20,000 in his car.
Right.
And and then the Fillmore district was turned over to Bill Graham, but it was all black before that. I mean, can you talk about your experiences playing on that circuit when it was an all black circuit run by Charles Sullivan?
I was late on that. You know, I was a youngster, so I don't have a real good, I wouldn't be a good authority on that era, because that era was ahead of me a little bit.
It was ahead of you a little bit. So when would you say you came into consciousness? Graham was already running the show at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, listen, we got a game on this program called Name That Tune. I want to put this tune in for you, John, and we'll come back and break it down, okay?
All right.
music on the Jake Feinberg Show, brought to you by the Stereo Hospital, the Circle Tree Ranch, Abbott Taylor Jewelers, the Jewish Community Center of Southern Arizona, and the Pretzinger Agency of Allstate Insurance, and we thank them for their support. All right, Mr. Turk, what do you got for us, brother?
Yeah, that was Vaco by Clifford Coulter.
Good for you. Good, man. Good, who was Vaco?
Vaco was a DJ in San Francisco, and Clifford knew him real well. I didn't really know him that well. And Clifford wrote that song in honor of him.
That's Lights Out, San Francisco,
right.
The sounds of the Bay.
Yeah.
But going back to John Lee for a minute, I have two questions for you. Or you can do this with Etta James. I mean, we're talking to John Turk. He's played with Etta James, Jimmy McCracklin, John Lee Hooker, Charlie Musselwhite, Pee Wee Ellis, B.B. King. Was John Lee Hooker caught up in? Did he care if the music in the song slowed up or sped down, or sped up or slowed down at all? Did he care if the tempo changed in the music at all?
If he did, I didn't hear him speak of it. He just got up there and performed, had a good time.
How can you talk? I think this is important because as a band leader yourself now at Glide, but also some of the people you worked under, can you talk about, one of the L's on my program is leadership, and I wanted you to talk about some, anybody that comes to mind, some of the nonverbal leadership qualities that they displayed that were effective. We live in a very verbal time. Everybody hangs on words. Everybody's very offended by words. I mean, John Lee Hooker just got up there and burned. Okay,
right.
Okay, so talk about some leadership qualities of somebody who did stuff in a nonverbal fashion.
You talking about the people or just the?
If you can think about somebody, whether it was John or somebody that a leader that inspired you because of nuanced leadership qualities that didn't include talking.
Well, to me, the most important thing is to be involved yourself. In other words, if you're inspiring, you're going to inspire the people around you. In other words, you're not up there to be a dictator to tell them how to play, but just be an inspiration for them. So when it's their turn to play a solo or whatever, that they feel free to let it all hang out.
Was there somebody that you can point to that helped you as a younger cat feel more secure to do that kind of stuff? I mean, I remember talking to a drummer where he said, how do you expect the audience to go there if you're not going to go there yourself? That's kind of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay, so was there somebody that was there a profound experience with a leader specifically you can point to where this kind of affected you?
Well, Clifford Coulter's always been a good inspiration for me.
Why?
Because he comes to play. He's not fooling around. He's not clowning. He's not trying to be a comedian. He's playing the instrument, and always at a high level. Him, Bobby Forte, who used to play with B.B. King and Bobby Blue Bland, was an inspiration for me because he also came to play. Couldn't help but be inspired when somebody's playing their butt off.
Right. Because you can't, there's nothing else going on. Do you feel like there's too many distractions and stimulation going on where you talk about, clowning around or you go to any sporting event now and there's so much distraction. It's like everything but the event itself. Do you feel like are you sort of projecting that onto today's music scene in the sense that a lot of cats are there for show and not really to just burn?
Yeah, and then some of them think they play better than they really do.
Right.
You know, and I mean, you know, we all need to practice. I'd be the last one to, you know, to tell somebody they need to tighten their game up. But some guys have one or two tricks, and after they do that, there's nothing left. You know.
Right. That's like right. It's like James Brent.
Tell it when the people don't respond to what you're doing. Then what are you up there for? If you're not trying to lift somebody's spirit with your music, you're just taking up space.
Did you get a chance to hang with Miles Davis?
No, I was, but no, I went to see Miles. Really pissed me off one night. I went over to the Black Hawk.
Okay.
In the city.
Right.
And he, you know, this is one of my trumpet idols, and I went over to see him, and he sat at the bar. He played the head of the song, and then he went and sat at the bar. I was just totally disappointed.
Wow. You're telling me he was totally deflated that night and did not even, I mean, he did not. No improvisation at all.
No, not that night. I mean, everybody has their night. I just happened to catch him on a night that he just, I guess, wasn't inspired.
Wow. And then I wanted to talk to you about Freddie Hubbard too. Did you get? I mean, were there any guys that you looked up to that didn't piss you off? That when you went to see him, you got some transcendent experience.
Yeah. I didn't get to see him in person, but Louis Armstrong was the best.
Why?
Because he could play.
Yeah, but Miles could play too, but he didn't show up that night. You didn't see him live. You didn't see Louis live, in fairness. A lot of people say he was a great rhythmatist. He had great rhythm. Louis
Miles?
did. No, Louis did.
Oh, yeah. I mean, wasn't for Louis, there would be jazz as we know it.
Can you explain why to the layperson?
His sense of rhythm, the notes that he used to talk to you, you know, and his music was always almost, well, it wasn't almost, to me it is spiritual, the way he talks to you through that trumpet.
Can you, I think it's just really important for the audience to understand that John Turk is a master of all musics, blues, soul, R&B, jazz, but he didn't get there by playing in academia. He played, a 9 to 2 shift, a dawn session, 6 to 12, 12 to 6, then back to the night. Can you give us a breakdown of John Turk's schedule in 1972? And did you play some of the infamous, did you play strip clubs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when you're a musician and this is all you do, you don't have choices. You can't discriminate because you need to make some money. So if a strip person called and they weren't doing me, they weren't asking me to do something that was against my religion.
Right.
I come to play. I didn't have no problem with that.
Did you? But essentially, just the strippers would actually call out like Duke Ellington tunes and tunes for you guys to play?
No. We were just there to provide music for them to dance and take their clothes off too.
Just get me some analog cassettes of that stuff, John, man. So can you talk? Was there a period of time where, in my fantasy world, there's this, I want to believe that for a period of years, there were dawn sessions with you, Mel Brown, and maybe Coulter. Did you?
Right.
Can you talk? Please put me back. Talk about Mel Brown. Talk about that San Jose. I've chronicled San Francisco. I've woodshedded in Oakland. San Jose, East Side San Jose. What did that represent to you and Mel and Clifford and 10,000 pounds of uncooked chitlins?
Well, I really got hooked up with San Jose through Clifford and Ronnie Beck, because
great drummer.
My first really kicking band was Clifford on guitar.
Wow.
And Ronnie Beck on the drum.
Oh man! And you were on horn?
And I was on organ.
Oh my! Okay. Oh, this is burning stuff.
Oh yeah, we were at the time. We were pretty hot, because everybody could play, and the main ingredient that we had is each member of the group respected the other, and we were interested in playing right as opposed to just playing to hear ourselves play. So it made for a really good group, and we ended up, Clifford played with me at a little place in Oakland called the Black Knight.
Oh yeah. Oh boy, I know that club.
Yeah.
Gaylord Birch used to play there.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So Ronnie played with me there. We were there for a couple of years, and Clifford. Then Clifford got signed with ABC, and he called me to play with him. And in the meantime, I met Mel Brown, who also played with me at this place called the Black Knight. Matter of fact, I think Clifford left the group and Mel Brown played with me for a while.
This is exactly... Go ahead.
I would consider him one of the best blues guitar players ever.
Just for the record, were you kicking pedals you were playing bass lines on the organ?
Yeah, but, I wasn't using my feet. And
so you were not kicking pedals?
No, I was playing using that lower level of the B3, like most people do. A lot of people think because you're playing the bass line that you're using the pedals, but most don't.
You were just using your left hand?
Using my left hand.
Mr. Turk, I want to do part two. If this was enjoyable, I would love to pick up part two with you in the near future. My final question for you is, can you talk about your concept of love? And even though I think we've already kind of gone over it, how you bring love to the world?
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, you do.
I wouldn't get quite that deep, but hopefully when I play, you feel something that lifts you up, that hopefully inspires you to, instead of doing 80%, do 95 or 100%, putting yourself out there where people can feel better about themselves and better about you.
What is one challenge that what is something that's still challenging you today that you want to overcome?
Practice.
You've never been a big practice guy.
No.
Right.
I wish I could say at some point I have, but that's a real challenge for me, is to practice and keep current. Because at some point you're going to think, oh man, I can play. And then you find yourself on the bandstand with other people that are not just talking about how, because when you're older, it's easy to get a little ego and think, well, I've done that already. Yeah, but music is going on. They're not listening to stuff from 30 years ago all the time. They do sometimes, but not all the time. So you got to keep current. It's evolving all the time. There's something new added every year. You don't practice, you don't keep up. You don't keep up, your voice will not be heard.
All right, John, I'll let you go practice now, okay? Listen, I really had a ball, man, and I'll connect with you later tonight, and I'll email you a file of this. I sure hope we can do part 2. I really had a ball, man.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're the best. Take care.
All right now.
All right. It's the Jake Feinberg Show. That's a wrap. April has come and gone. We are 4 months into 2016, cooking stronger than ever. Go to the Jake Feinberg, JakeFeinbergShow.com. Become a member of the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll be back next week. Huge month of May coming up. Mike Roper, thanks to Mike Roper for engineering. It's a great show. See you later. Peace.
It's not all the money that I want. I just like to play the blues. And I like for everybody to get together and all of us play the blues and let's have a good time. Because blues is where it's at. I'm telling you, I love it. I can't help but play it. So when you wake up in the morning,
you're a gig,
and ain't got no money, or no gig, whatever you call it, you ain't got nothing but the blues no way, baby. Or either your old lady gonna do yakking you and arguing with you, telling you want you to get up and do something.